Hey there, this is Gus Almashny from sportsmanac.com, and welcome to the July 23rd, 2020 MLB Daily Fantasy Sports Slate. Here we have opening day. Not sure about you, but I'm super excited that baseball is back. Given all the crazy stuff going on in our world with COVID-19, the racial stuff, political discourse, economic downturns, it's nice to see something that can be a good diversion for us. And even though this is a shortened season, some rule changes some people might not be too happy about with like the DH for both leagues and having guys start on second base when they get extra innings and all that other stuff. Nonetheless, it's still great to see America's pastime return. So here we have a two-game slate, and we have your typical opening day matchup between the Giants and Dodgers. That's definitely a classic affair. We got Johnny Cueto against Clayton Kershaw. And then the earlier game will be Yankees at Nationals. So Nationals defending world champions going against the Yankees, who are pretty much one of the heavily favored teams to win it all. We shall see if that happens, given this unique baseball season for 2020. Looking at the lines, we kind of see that the Dodgers stack might be the way to go. They're slightly higher over the over-under at 8 compared to Yankees Nationals 7.5. But the Dodgers are heavily favored at minus 290. So we'll probably lean towards the Dodgers stack. Even though Yankees Nationals do have some pretty strong hitters, we'll probably go the Giants stack, especially if we want to fit in Garrett Cole or Max Scherzer. So given the high price of those pitchers, it would be pretty tough to go Yankees and Nationals hitters and those pitchers. So we'll probably have to wind up stacking the Giants-Dodgers game and hoping that we get a pitcher's duel for the Yankees Nationals. Taking a look at some of the pitcher hitter data, just to kind of get again, they're like a 25 to 30,000 foot view of what to expect. So Garrett Cole's record against some Nationals hitters, and remember, Garrett Cole did pitch against the Nationals when he was with the Astros in the World Series last year, so he does have some experience. If starting Castro is our biggest fear, then I think things are okay with Garrett Cole. Castro does have some of the better numbers, but if you look at Howie Kendrick, not great numbers. Eric Thames looks like he'll be whiffing a lot. Cabrera, who just joined the team, again, not great. Obviously, Rendon's no longer with the Nationals. There's Trey Turner, but we don't really have any really truly feared hitters on the Nationals. And Garrett Cole is pretty much a lights out guy. I mean, the guy can get 10 to 12 strikeouts, do 7-8 innings. With only 4 pitchers, you'd be remiss not to go with him, especially if he does put up like 60 to 70 points on FanDuel or 30 to 40 points on DraftKings. So we kind of want to pay up and go for the quality here. Scherzer is not such a bad idea if you do want to fade Cole or go a little different, or on DraftKings you're going 2 pitchers. You may want to consider Cole Scherzer. Yes, you wouldn't get 2 wins if you went with 2 pitchers in the same game. But there's a good chance if Giants-Dodgers is like tied 4-all in the 6th, 7th inning, then a relief pitcher gets the win, then why waste your time with a pitcher in that game? And if this goes like 1-1 or if it's a pitcher's duel, maybe no one gets the win of these 4 starting pitchers. So I wouldn't really focus too heavily on that. I really want to get the innings and the strikeouts. And can't go wrong. Cole and Scherzer would be a pretty good option. Only problem with Scherzer is that he has shown a little wear and tear over the years. The Yankees also have a very potent lineup. You have Giancarlo Stanton. Obviously, you don't see Torres or Gary Sanchez, but I think those are 2 very feared hitters. Aaron Judge, of course, and then you can throw in Gardner's and Hicks and LeMahieu, Voit. It's murderer's row here. So I probably would avoid Scherzer and to see if you can squeeze in Cole. But if you're going to go Cole, then obviously we need to make sure we get the right stacks. So Cueto, his numbers against Dodgers, not good. Mookie Betts is obviously on the team. That will help a lot. And, of course, you have a bunch of lefties, and Cueto does not do against lefties. You got Muncy, Belly, Seager, Jock Peterson. We'll see what the Dodgers management will do with the lineups, but my guess is Betts will probably bat first or may have him second, kind of alternate left, right, or just go left heavy in the top of the lineup. They do usually go Turner third, so maybe Betts batting first, Seager second, Turner third, Belly fourth, maybe Muncy or Peterson fifth, sixth. So this could be bad news for Cueto, especially his OPS against those hitters is 841. They have a homer against him. Seager is one player we're going to target heavily, given his strong history against Cueto. If we look at Kershaw, obviously, Kershaw is a future Hall of Famer. But again, he's starting to show some of his age, just like Scherzer. Not quite the same Kershaw as we remember from a few years ago. So we might be able to see some value here. And we are going to focus on Mike Yastrzemski. So that's obviously Carl Yastrzemski's grandson from the Red Sox many, many years ago. Yastrzemski showed some really solid numbers last year. And as we break down the slate, we're going to look at Yastrzemski a bit more, even though he doesn't have much of a history against Kershaw. So let's now get to the presentation that I prepared here. And we'll look at Kershaw. So Kershaw, again, great pitcher, right? I mean, look at his numbers over the last 12 years, just phenomenal numbers. But what we're looking at here is a little bit different. We're looking at his ground ball and fly ball ratio. So Kershaw, for the most part, is pretty much a 1-to-1 ratio for ground ball, fly balls. You can't really say he's a ground ball pitcher or a fly ball pitcher, kind of in between. And that's definitely has been the case the last 3 seasons. So why are we looking at that? Because when we look at Mike Yastrzemski, who's obviously going against Kershaw, he actually does quite well against pitchers who are a medium ground ball, fly ball pitcher. So this will be important for us when we're looking at the matchups. If you look at the splits from last year, and we can only really look at last year's data. So as the season carries forward, we'll start looking at in-season data, but it'll be tough because it is a shortened season. So we're going to have to kind of rely heavily on last year's data. And we are taking a data-driven approach here. So if you look at Kershaw's splits, he actually doesn't do too well against the top 3 hitters of the lineup. So you can look at the OPSs there, 995, 880, 927. At home, he's okay, way a little worse, but still a very, very good pitcher, and still not the same pitch that we're used to. Night games does a little bit worse than day games, and it is a night game in Chavez Ravine. So, but the fact that he had struggles against the top 3 hitters, we really, really want to focus on that. So if we are going to go for a giant stack, we probably want some guys who are on the top of the lineup. And Yastrzemski is expected to bat second today. He could bat first, but second seems to be a good place for him. So we'll move forward. If you look at the pitch counts last year for Kershaw, whenever he's facing the first pitch, hitters tend to hit him pretty well. 1-0 counts, they also hit him pretty well. And of course, 3-on-3-1 counts, but the sample size is really small. But these are pretty significant sample sizes here. 95 at-bats for the first pitch, 42 at-bats for 1-0 counts. And he tends to get rocked pretty hard in those situations. 7 homers allowed there, 6 homers allowed there. Even 1-1 counts, not great. So why is that important? Well, let's take a look at Yastrzemski. So Mike Yastrzemski, again, last year was his rookie year, old rookie, he was 28 years old, I believe. Did very well against lefties, so I think that's important. And he's a lefty himself, so sometimes lefties do better against same-handed pitchers. You never know. Does really well away, which they are away, which kind of makes sense because Oracle Park for San Francisco tends to be more of a pitcher's park. And you see right here, his numbers when he faces an average fly ball, ground ball pitcher are solid. 345 on base percentage. ISO is about 0.25. So these are all really good numbers. And they seem to match up well against Kershaw. Again, he does well on the road. AT&T Park, well, now it's Oracle Park. Not the greatest numbers, but interestingly, Camden Yards, he's from, I believe he's from Maryland, if I'm not mistaken. Or it could be Massachusetts. I'd have to, no, I think it's Andover, Maryland, if I'm not mistaken. I'd have to look it up. But, did well in Camden Yards. Obviously did well at Dodger Stadium last year. Again, small sample size, but can't really ignore those numbers. Fenway, where again his grandfather played and won a Triple Crown in 1967 for the trivia buffs. So obviously, showed up there. Also showed up against his divisional opponents against Chase Field. did pretty well. At Petco Park, did well. Coors, I mean, how do you not do well there? Um, so he seems to be strong on the road. So that works in our favor. And then if you look at the counts, first pitch, amazing. 45 at bats. I mean, he's just turning on the ball, doing a great job there. 1-0 count and 1-1 counts, also outstanding. So these are all things that are pointing to kind of a mini giant stack. Definitely want Mike Yastrzemski in it, and then maybe the guys around him. Maybe if he's batting second, maybe whoever's batting leadoff, maybe whoever's batting third or fourth might be a good idea to group with Yastrzemski. Now this right here is data that's a little bit more proprietary and unique. This is from a website called Advanced Sports Analytics, and I'll be doing some work with them this season. And I strongly recommend you check them out. And if you like what they have, definitely consider getting a subscription. It's well worth the while. I mean, you could subscribe to a lot of other sites. There's like Roto Grinders, of course, and Rotoballer, Awesemo. Other ones that are kind of escaping my mind. You can obviously do your own research on MLB.com or FanGraphs, which we definitely use here in these presentations. But this is a bit unique where you actually get to see more granular data. So here we're looking at the FanDuel distribution of points per game for Mike Yastrzemski last year. And right now, the solid line, I'm looking at more of his median, like what I kind of expect Yastrzemski to do. But we do see that there's a bit of a peak if he's scoring past 20 points. So he has that potential having those strong games because we do see a fairly decent density in the 20 range. I mean, of course, it tapers off past 6, but he does have that potential for having those really big games. And today could be such a game. And of course, if you have that, you'll be counting your lucky stars. Now, if you are going to go Yastrzemski, who are you going to stack him with? Definitely consider Mauricio Dubon, who might be batting first. A rookie. He did play a little last year. Came from the Brewers farm system, traded to the Giants. And you can see he's shown consistent improvement as he's worked his way through the minors. The last 2 or 3 years, having an OPS that's close to 0.9. ISO's pretty decent too. So, maybe if he gets on base and Yastrzemski gets like a extra base hit, you're probably looking at some runs scored from Devon. So that's always a good thing. Hunter Pence is another person you might want to consider. Pence seems like a guy who's been somewhat over the hill. Obviously, beloved of the Giants, was instrumental in helping win the 2012-2014 World Series. Did show some struggles later in his career at the Giants. Then went to Texas and had a revival. I mean, of course, playing in Texas in the warm heat helps, and having a lot of protection on that. But if he does have Yastrzemski batting ahead of him, that could help. And you do see in 83 games that Pence found some power. 18 home runs in 83 games. That's really, really strong. A strong slugging percentage, decent ISO, strong OPS. So that's something someone you may want to consider is going with Hunter Pence, even though his record against Kershaw is not great. Again, looking at some proprietary data. So again, if you really like this stuff, do consider checking out Advanced Sports Analytics. And you can also even follow our Twitter feed. That's another great place. So, but anyway, if you look at a batting order correlation for the Giants last year, if you look at the number 2 hitter, tends to have a strong correlation with the number 5 hitter. Sandoval might be batting 5th. I don't know if I'd want to go Sandoval. But if you look at the 1 hitter is definitely correlates strong with the 4 hitter. So Devon and Pence will probably be 1 and 4 hitters respectively. So you do see a pretty decent correlation between those 2 guys. So most likely the stack would be Yastrzemski, Devon, and Pence. And they're really, really cheap on FanDuel. DraftKings, Pence is going to be expensive, but Devon is cheap. Yastrzemski is decent at 4,000, I believe, on DraftKings. So you can also play Yahoo too. And so that's the other great thing too about this app on the Advanced Sports Analytics site. You can actually designate what site you play with, and it'll give you the correlations for those using the data from last year for those sites. And of course, this will be updating when we have more data for this season. But of course, this is from March 2019 until now. There was no baseball in 2020 until today. Now we're going to look at going for a Dodgers stack. So Johnny Cueto. Johnny Cueto is the worst pitcher today, and usually you're going to want to go for the hitters against the worst pitcher on the slate. He didn't pitch much in 2018, 2019, so we're looking at 2017 splits. Was great in 2016 when the Giants were in the playoffs and lost to the Cubs. But after that, kind of has fallen off. And we do see that he has some struggles home and away. Kind of hard to tell which one's worse. But he does struggle against lefties, and that's going to be important to look at because the Dodgers are a very left-handed heavy lineup. If you look at people in the batting order tend to do well against Cueto, 2, 3, and 5 hitters. Most likely, it looks like Betts might bat one. We'll see today. 4 probably Bellinger, but 2, 3, 5 will probably be Seager, Turner, and Muncy. Peterson will also be strong at 6. So if you're going for a 4-player stack, those are probably the 4 you want. Turner, yes, is a righty, but he does do a great job making contact and taking advantage when there's batters on base, or runners on base, sorry. If we look at the pitch count breakdown like we have for Kershaw, we do see that a first pitch not good at all. If you can do well on the first pitch, you can get to Cueto. 1-1 count also not great. 1-0 counts. Of course, when you get to 3-0 counts, you're not going to do well there either. 3-2 counts does decent. Cueto's able to kind of get himself out of those jams, but that's kind of what we want to focus on. And let's clear that. So Seager's a guy I really want to focus on here. Young guy, 25 years old, showing lots of promise. Didn't quite play a full season, and was able to show some pop in his bat. Does very well against righties, much better than against lefties. So that's all good stuff for us here. And tends to do well against pitchers who are more average fly ball, ground balls, and that's kind of where Cueto is. Obviously, really much better against ground ball hitters. So those are things that probably will work to our advantage today. The counts does very well when it's the first pitch. 1-0 counts, outstanding there. 1-1 not as great. And again, if we look back at Cueto for 1-0 counts, again, not great. It's giving up 4 home runs in 43 at bats. So obviously we're kind of hoping for those big points from Seager if he can knock one out of the park. Here's his distribution that you find the advanced sports analytics site. Again, we do see not a big dip after we get past his meeting. Like he has a potential of scoring in the teens or even the 20s. So we definitely feel good about Seager today. Turner, if you look at his distribution, he's a little bit more consistent, but that's not a bad thing. You do want someone who can actually not give you a goose egg. Someone who can probably get a couple hits, score some runs, get some RBIs. Muncy, you definitely see a very nice peak here past 18, and these are quantiles, by the way. I'd have to double check, but I believe these are 25th, 70th percentiles, probably 90th and 99th percentiles. Again, I'd have to double check. But definitely has a nice peak here at 20. So, and Muncy is very capable of having some monster games. So if Cueto's getting in trouble early in the game, perhaps maybe Betts walks, Seager can get an extra base hit, Turner gets a hit, belly walks. All of a sudden, Muncy's looking at bases loaded and could probably knock one out of the park and get you a lot of points. Correlations. We do see a very, very strong correlation for the 1 and 4 hitter. So if you do want to go Mookie Betts and Bellinger, I'm not going to blame you. It's just going to cost you a lot of money. But we also do see good correlation between the 3 and 6 hitters and the 3 and 5 hitters. So that could be great for a Turner with Muncy or Turner with Jock Peterson. Jock Peterson, another lefty who's very capable of having some strong games. And the last slide here before we end this presentation, this is an optimizer that you have on the Advanced Sports Analytics site. And we can kind of see that a lot of these players that are very popular for today, and if we look at value, this is more based on like their salaries and what we expect their score to be. So essentially, it's kind of like a ratio in a way, if you want to think of it in that manner. And these are all FanDuel salaries. So, but this will still work for DraftKings if you want to, if that's your game of choice, or Yahoo. But this is all FanDuel. And you can see Seager's the top value. Belly's right there. Turner, Peterson. So that's a stack that we'll most likely be going with. Muncy is also right there. Yastrzemski is kind of sneaking in. Tyler Heineman, if you are playing DraftKings and you have to go catcher, Gary Sanchez will cost you a pretty penny, as well as Will Smith, not the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, but catcher for the Dodgers. That would be funny if he did live in Bel-Air. Anyway, Tyler Heineman might be someone's really cheap on FanDuel. DraftKings, he's one of the cheaper options as well. Excuse me. If you're going to go risky, Adam Eaton, if you're going to go Nationals, that might be the guy to lefty against a righty. The Mayhew might be another one you might want to consider if you're going to Yankee player. Brett Gardner, kind of cheap. I do like Gleyber Torres as a utility player. And in fact, you could probably squeeze in Torres with utility with Garrett Cole if you're going with my Dodgers and Giants stack. So you have a chance to kind of play around. So yeah, and if we kind of take a quick peek at a FanDuel lineup that I wound up putting together here. So that's the FanDuel lineup I'm going with. Cole, Muncy, Turner, Seager, Peterson, Devon, Yastrzemski, Pence, and then Gleyber Torres. You could probably switch Gleyber Torres, Gary Sanchez, who Sanchez is great too. 100 games, had over 30 home runs, so you can't really go wrong with him either. But that's a potential FanDuel lineup you could probably go with. And so we wish you guys luck, and we'll try to do these consistently throughout the season. The plan is to probably have these up before noon. If we can do the night before, we will. But things change, just like with the virus, and who knows if any of these guys do get the virus, God forbid. They may. Of course, they won't play. So we'd obviously have to pivot. So do keep that in mind. These are done before noon, before the slate starts. So again, good luck to you, and we'll check in tomorrow.